Hey, what's going on, guys? Double 1-8 Set Shadow here. Hexaorb Sorceress just got a retrain announced for set 10. So, let's go over in brief what this card can do and then get into the market watch, starting with some of its support cards. So, ultimately, the new card is Hexaorb Sorceress Aquamarine. At least that's what I heard the translation was. I'm not actually sure how to read that kanji. But it has three effects. The first is that while it's on the Vanguard circle, it's treated as Hexaorb Sorceress, which is pretty critical since many old support cards for this card required your Vanguard to be Hexaorb Sorceress explicitly, so this will allow you to play all prior support cards that Hexaorb Sorceress would usually work with. The second effect is when you Persona Ride during the turn, this unit gets another drive, and then any trigger check is 10k up. So effectively, all your triggers are now 20k bonuses instead of 10k. The final skill is that at the end of the attack, or during the attack that this unit checks a trigger, every time you check a trigger, you can Soul Blast one card and stand one of your rear guards. So effectively, if you check two triggers, you can stand two of your units. And this doesn't require Persona Ride, so you can use it on the first grade 3 turn. With that in mind, let's go ahead and start looking at a few of the support cards for Hexaorb. Of course, let's go over the original first. Now you don't necessarily have to play this card anymore since the new Hexaorb Sorceress takes on the original's name. So you would really only play this one if you wanted to play a more front trigger based build and just wanted to play it as a tech option. There are cards that can search Hexaorb Sorceress directly from the deck as well, so it might be a nice one-up to play in certain scenarios. From what you saw of the SP, it's $30, but not many people have really been buying on this news for this one. Probably for the fact that you don't need to play it anymore. Four-Side Glow Sorceress is one that you will have to be careful when you consider, given that its ability requires a Soul Blast of 2, and Hexaorb Aquamarine requires Soul Blast in order to stand, 1 soul per unit. So you'll run out of soul really fast if you intend to try this card. You'd have to find a good way to counterbalance that. But ultimately, this card is $1 to $2 between the common and the foil, and it's a promo, so if you do at least want to try it, it's still a good price to pick them up and at least try. Recurring Magic Loretta. There hasn't been much movement on the triple R for this one, but the SP had some movement today on this news. Ultimately, people actually bought lightly played copies for this, and then near mints too. There are a few actual buys here. 650 all the way to 10 essentially. And now we're starting at 15 before we have a spread of prices on this one. Essentially, this card doesn't need to be played anymore like some of the others, but for consistency's sake of being able to get 5 attacks, it's still a good one to play. And ultimately, I like the artwork on this card a lot, so I ended up picking up one myself, SP. I mean, I've got my triple R's somewhere, but the SP looks pretty gorgeous on this one. This one has a mat from set 4, by the way, if you're interested in that. Oh, looks like I forgot to... Okay, Octoray Sorceress, we're looking at... This is another card from set 6, which we're looking at $1 overall selling on this news. And yeah, it's... This one is definitely a good contender for playing with Hexaorb in general. You look at the top 2 cards of your deck and you basically put them both in your hand and then put a card to the bottom of your deck from your hand, or you look at the top 2, take one, put the other back on top. So you can stack your deck while getting an extra card, or you can cycle your deck while putting a card back. It's a good card overall, and if we take a look at the FR for this one, we are seeing... movements were in the $3 range, but we're now looking at $5 for what's available. So there are 15 listings overall. We'll see if it moves fast or not. But if you have copies of this, You can probably put them up for 5 and it will be okay. Nuvarea is something that someone bought off me recently, so I wanted to take another look. Despite the fact that it's critical Orpheus support, the double R for this one has never really gone up in value very high, even though Orpheus did top Worlds. I mean, you look at that, the card is overall, because Worlds happened around this point, and it still stayed pretty steady in the 60 cent range. But I guess with new support that's coming for Orpheus, it's getting more of a look these days. I mean, it's still a pretty consistent sell overall, but the price has been rising when you're trying to look for more quantities at this point. Overall, 150 has kind of become the price point when it comes to buying multiple copies of this. Connector, the draw trigger for Brandgate, is on buyout status, where the rare now has 4 listings and they're starting at $15 right now. The special reprint is starting at $8.50 and the SP is gone. So if you have this draw trigger, now would be a good time to put them up. They are selling really well and will continue to do so given just how popular Brandgate is. Skullwitch Domain also had a buyout, to my surprise. I know this card has potential playability in premium as well, but I thought it was only like a one of. Even so, the triple R jumped from like the $15 mark because it's actually been selling for $25 now. But it's been $15 for a little while, and prior to this, when I covered it, it was $6 to $11. And I mean, it was anticipated to go up irregardless, but I thought that was just going to be nostalgia, which would come further down the line. But I guess players actually want this immediately now. As for the SP, this one has $45 to $60 listings, which honestly, I thought 40 to 50 was actually a good price point for this one, given it is Nemain. Again, that's nostalgia factor, and historically, Nemain high rarities do end up fetching a pretty penny over time. So if you want to grab these to hold on to, buying them in the $40 to $50 range is not bad, but ultimately they were in the 20s before, so you and I together kind of missed out on that. Zlatorg has been sold out for a little while. The SP heal trigger from Festival Collection 2021 for Stoichia. Someone bought 4 copies of this for $35 the other day, and otherwise this card has been in the $4 range. Now I bought these when they first came out, and they were in the 20s at that time, and they severely dropped off since then. But they're sold out again. And honestly, I don't know what to tell you is a great price point for this, but do keep in mind that this is one of 2 full art SP Stoichia triggers that you can pick up. The other being Abyss Dweller? What was it called? Sorry. Temptation of the Abyss, I believe. Abyss Temptation. So you can choose between this or Abyss Temptation for your SPs, and this one's sold out, so right now it's just Abyss Temptation. But if you have more of those SPs, you can put them on the market for a good amount. Hopilo from the Blitz series. Wanted to cover this one since the prices on this one are actually looking low, especially when you consider how another card from the Blitz series, which isn't really played in Welstra that much, seems to be taking off in comparison. And of course, I'm talking about Perfey, who is the draw engine, but people don't really tend to play it from what I've seen. Whole Flow is a tech that I do see in several Welstra decks. It's not played in all of them, but it's another way to activate your products. So the card right now is looking at $4. And when it comes to the FFR, there's a $20 listing. There are 2 $20 listings. And then we're looking at 27, basically. And if we look at sales, yeah, this has been selling above 20 at this point. So if you're trying to max rarity Welstra, these might be good to pick up now, as they do have the potential to go higher. Then I just want to cover some other FRs that have been seeing some price increases. First, Samdi from set 7, which is Basagra support. The double R for this has been going up in value too, so it's a given that the FR has been keeping pace. And now we're looking at $8 to start off with before we've got $20 with the most copies. I don't know if I can even justify $20 on that one. Spinning Knight Gwendolyn, also from set 7, has been bought out. We're looking at $10 to start off with on this one, and this is a potential Hexaorb tech too, where it makes your opponent guard with 2 cards if you Persona Rogue during the turn. And the thing about Hexaorb is that its greatest skills all occur during Persona Ride. But this is also Tegrea support, and Tegrea's been getting some attention thanks to set 11's announcement for new glitters. Turn Fracture Dragon from set 6 has also seen a buyout on its frame rare, though $4 has been the common sell. Ultimately, this has mostly been selling for $1, but we're looking at $8 plus right now. And I mean, it is an on-hit effect and has to hit the Vanguard to use its effect, but it's selective soul charging as opposed to random soul charging. So for decks that really need that, this is probably a better option to consider overall. But the double Rs are still plenty available, so there's nothing to worry about if you're not looking to max rarity. Magic of Alteration Turn R is from set 8. This one isn't on buyout, but I do want to point this one out as a potential countercharge engine that players might start to take advantage of. You do have to have 3 or more face-down cards, so you have to play a counterblast-heavy deck. But you put this card into Soul and countercharge 1, so it's basically like a Bobble Mine as long as you really expended your counterblast. It does have premium potential as well, given that if you're burning out your counterblast and then you have at least 3 damage, this thing can countercharge for you to possibly enable some more combos. But this card is something that you want to keep at least a playset of in your back pocket, and the FR right now is about the same price, so might be better just to pick up the FR if you're looking to hold these. But yeah, it's basically $1 higher if you want the FR at this point. And finally, Leonorn. With tomorrow's episode, I just want to go over what she's at with her different copies. DSR overall, we're looking at $197 to start with 4 listings. FFR is still in the $30 range. That's just price pressure between these two, so it's really going to depend a whole lot more on what happens with the triple R's price. Right now, we're looking at plenty of copies available for $9. Thing is, after the $9 copies disappear, we've only got listings in the 20s and higher, which I'm not sure is justifiable even with potential new support coming out, but that just depends on how good it ends up becoming. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. If you have any requests, just let me know. I'll see if I can make videos out of those, or I may also post on Instagram. My Instagram is in the description below, and I post there to meet some of your requests as well. See you guys later.